experts agree Ukraine and Russia are stuck in a stalemate, both on the battlefield and at the negotiating table. How they will get past is the million-dollar question tonight. Heading into a pivotal meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, President Trump appeared ready to bolster Ukraine on the battlefield. One call from President Putin changed everything, and now critics argue the president is giving Zelensky mixed messages on both missiles and territory. Listen to this.
Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about Tomahawks.
You said that you think Ukraine could ultimately take back all the territory that it's lost so far. Do you still think that's the case, or do you think there'll have to be some sort of swap of territory?
You never know. Look, you know, war is very interesting. You never know, do you? You just never know. With war and peace, but you never know.
President Trump said today he hopes to have the war resolved before a planned meeting later this month with Chinese President Xi Jinping. But in the same press conference, he acknowledged that Putin is dragging his feet.
Aren't you concerned that maybe the Russian president is trying to buy himself more time?
Yeah, I am, but, you know, I've been played all my life by the best of them, and I came out really well.
Trump and Zelensky offered vastly different views on the path towards peace. Trump said he believes Putin is ready, but Zelensky arrived in the United States just hours after one of the largest Russian missile strikes since the war started. He argues Putin is not ready to come back to the negotiating table. So we begin tonight with Dr. Andrew Peek, former senior director for European and Russian affairs at the National Security Council, and Melinda Haring, senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. Thank you both for being here tonight. Such an important conversation, such a big day here in Washington. Dr. Peek, I wanted to ask you first, how disappointed should both sides be after this meeting here in D.C. today?
Well, the last clip of Trump that you played, where he said he wanted a ceasefire in place along the current line of control, that is basically the Ukrainian position. So I think the Ukrainians, even though they didn't get the Tomahawk missiles, have to feel pretty good that he basically endorsed their position for a ceasefire. And Melinda, since the Alaska summit, Trump has really repeatedly expressed frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He offered a different tone today. Let's take a listen to this, and we'll talk on the other side.
I think that President Putin wants to end the war, or I wouldn't be talking this way. I think he wants to end the war. I spoke to him yesterday for 2.5 hours. We went through a lot of details. He wants to get it ended.
All right, so those comments came after he spoke with Putin for about 2.5 hours yesterday, but today his meeting with Zelensky lasted about just an hour and a half. So what does that tell us about where the president's head is at right now?
It's great to be here. So first of all, I would say let's not talk about time. Let's talk about the message and the direction that Trump is going in. Trump has moved massively over the last 6 months. He tried for 6 months to get a peace deal. He failed. Nothing really came out of Alaska. And now we see the same old Putin steps. He's trying to seduce Trump once again. He's trying to sweet talk him. The U.S. is talking about giving Tomahawks. And what do we see? We see an invitation to negotiate. It's the same old thing. You can calculate it. Yeah, you can draw it out on a graph. It's so predictable.
And Dr. Peek, I want to turn back to you here. You know, some experts suggest that Putin effectively charmed Trump out of sending the Tomahawks, but they are they really important to Ukraine's success here?
You know, I think the Tomahawks are something of a red herring here. Over the last 3 years of the war, there have been system after system that we've held up, like the F-16s, like the HIMARS, like the Abrams, as being key to Ukraine's defense. Could the Tomahawks help gradually among the sort of to shape the negotiation maybe a little bit? Are there genuine risks that it's fair that Trump is concerned about? Yes, absolutely.
So I absolutely disagree with that. And I spent a lot of time talking to brigade commanders. And if Ukraine has 2,000 Tomahawks, which is an enormous amount, and the U.S. is not talking about sending that amount, but if they were able to gather 2,000 long-range fires, the war is over. Trump said it perfectly today. Tomahawks are a game changer. And the reason why, Kelly, is that they would enable the Ukrainians to hit the ammo depots and the command and control centers, and they can't do that right now. So the war is going to continue until Ukraine has long-range fires. Are Tomahawks enough? No, but they're the missing piece that Ukraine needs to end the war.
Ukraine can already project power deep into Russia with drone strikes. That's not something that's going to be a new capability. What will be a new capability is doing that en masse that the Tomahawks might be able to give you. But again, it is fair, especially for those of us and those in the senior levels of the Trump administration that lived through the last 20 years of wars, the GWOT, Iraq, Afghanistan, to be conscious about escalation. That's a real fear that a commander-in-chief has to take account of.
So there's absolute risk, but it is a game changer. The long-range drones that Ukraine has are good. They're not good enough. Long-range fires are an absolute game changer that will enable Ukraine to finish the war full stop. Ukraine is developing them, but it doesn't have the long-range capacity. Tomahawks, depending on the system, go 1,000 miles. So it would enable Kiev to strike Moscow, St. Petersburg, and all of the places where it's keeping its ammunition. Kiev can't do that now.
So let's talk about where we're at right now for both of you. You know, it doesn't look like Zelensky is walking away with the Tomahawks today. President Trump seems pretty frustrated when he was talking tonight. Right. He really just wants this to end. He was hoping to ride that momentum from Monday, you know, getting that peace deal between Israel and Hamas, bring that in to cap off the week with Zelensky here today. And he wasn't able to come and take questions when I was on the South Lawn as he departed for Florida. He didn't want to stop and take questions because there wasn't really a big win here. When is this, you know, going to, like, what is it going to take on the negotiating table? I mean, even Trump said the two leaders are obstacles for each other. The hatred is beyond words, he said. It's been an obstacle for him to get this done. Is he going to be able to get both of them to the table? Is that what it's going to take? Or are we going to go in, I know we were talking to, are we going to go into the winter with this war?
I think Trump's personal involvement, like in Gaza, is key to get the Russians to the negotiating table in a suboptimal position, right? Like, i.e., to back off their maximalist demands that Putin laid out in 2024, where he wants control of all 4 provinces in the east and south of Ukraine. He wants demilitarization and he wants a neutralization of Ukraine, i.e., Ukraine can't join foreign military alliances. Trump personally is the only thing really that is going to be able to shift him on that. At Alaska, it shifted him a little bit in that he accepted for the first time line of control in 2 southern provinces, but there's still a ways to go.
And I was in Alaska, and there seemed like there was that momentum there, and then it kind of faded away, and then it seemed like it came back today, and we're back at square one. What do you think it's going to take?
I don't think so. I think that you're looking for something that's not there. Yeah. Moscow has not changed its demands. Yeah. So Moscow and Putin have been incredibly consistent since February 24th of 2022. And Putin wants the same things. But Trump today, in the statement that you showed, look, he wants an agreement. He wants that Nobel Peace Prize. And good on him for trying for the last 6 months. He didn't get it, right? So he has been shifting, and he politically has to have a win. He's got egg on his face, right? He said he could do it in 1 day, 3 days. He's got nothing to show for it. So he's moving, and he's using Tomahawks as a leverage point to try to force Putin to the table. And he needs to do that. He needs to show strength, but he also needs to couple it with sanctions and another supplemental on Capitol Hill, or it's insufficient. We're going to be at this war for another six to 18 months, unfortunately. That's the reality on the ground. I go to the front lines. I talk to generals all the time. Everyone expects the war to continue at the same intensity till about Christmas.
Well, I know, and you've been on the ground in Ukraine recently and heard from them directly. I want to end the conversation here. Before we go, let's take a look at the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. If you didn't notice anything different about his tie, the Russia news agency did. Take a look at this. TASS reported Hegseth's tie featured bold white, blue, and red stripes arranged in the same order as on the Russian national flag. Do you think Ukrainians thought the same thing?
I don't think Ukrainians had much hope that anything was going to change today, Kelly. So maybe we did. Maybe we were a little hopeful. But all the Ukrainians I spoke with this morning, they rolled their eyes when I said President Zelensky's in town. So always go with the Ukrainians. They're the ones that are living through this. And over the last 6 months, we've seen the number of drones and long-range missiles hitting civilians increase by 800%. And the problem is, so it's been hitting civilians, schools, churches, apartment buildings. And Putin has changed his strategy, and he's now hitting the grid, and he's trying to drive Ukrainians out. He wants them to flee to Europe once again. So that's his long-term strategy for winter.
And let me get your thoughts on that. What do you think of the tie?
I think Pete Hegseth has been wearing red, white, and blue for a long time. I'm not sure if they should read too much into it.
So Russia shouldn't read too much into it?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, I appreciate you both being here. And it's, you know, we'll see where this goes from here. Obviously, they are planning for that meeting in Budapest. We'll see. I'm curious to see what President Trump has to say to Putin after this meeting with Zelensky and really what happens next. So thank you both for your time here tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.